Hey there, I'm Jill Blanchette, and I'm here for card number 2 from the Sunshine and Smiles paper pumpkin kit that we had for February of 2023. My card sample looks like this, and it's just a open up card, and I will show you how we made this one. So we're going to start with the base. This is a Pear Pizzazz A2 base that is 8.5 by 5.5. Scored at 4 1/4 and then fold it in half. Go ahead and if you want to score it there, you could do that as well, but just give it a good crease across there and set that aside for a second. Then I have a 5 1/4 by 4-inch piece of basic white, and let me get a piece to scrap to work on. And what I did was I took one of my blocks. I was going to see if I could see which. I think it's the the H block. And I just put 3 rubber bands around it in different widths. And then I'm going to get my daffodil ink and my soft seafoam ink, and I'm going to stamp across the cardstock. And so I'm just going to ink it up, and I'm going to just stamp all across the card. And I did have a piece that I will set down here just to kind of help me make sure I leave a white space for my little scene to go on. And I'm just going to keep going down. And then those aren't going to be wide enough to go across. So let's see if I can get up. And I'm going to try and put the rubber bands back down pretty close to where they belong. Stamp the rest of the way across the card. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to go one more. I'll come down here. The only thing that I urge you to watch for is getting ink on the block. And then if the block rolls at all, it will make a blop on the card. Let me show you. If I rock it, you'll get this over inkage from like this. It'll come off from here on the block. So then I came over with my Daffodil Delight, and I used the other side of the block. You could clean that off and use that same side if you wanted, but and then I'm going to come in at this angle. Being careful to try and stay in my lines. I didn't get a very good impression on that one. Can come back after and see if I can fix that. And that's all I'm doing is coming in my space that, and I think I'm going to leave it. I'd have to take the rubber bands off to try and fix that. Oh, I guess I can give it a shot and see what we get, right? I'm going to go with it being my 3rd rubber band that's not touching down correctly. Hover over where I see it and hope for the best here. Okay, not too bad. So we're going to stop there before we really make a mess of our card. because it doesn't have to look perfect. I wanted it to be kind of unfinished a little more, and I think that some of these areas are helping it along with that. Over here, some of this in here, you know, they're not lining up and stuff, and that's exactly what I wanted it to do. Whether you want to believe that or not, that's it. So then I have my old set called Grown with Love, and it has the wagon in it. So I've got my stamp set out, just the wagon out. I got a basic white piece of paper, and I have some markers here, or we could try and just ink with our pad. Let's see what I could do here. If I can ink just the wagon. I got just the wagon there, so let's go with that. And then we could try with the basic gray ink and stamp, which I did this one. I did it that way. I stamped just what I wanted with the basic gray, but I'm going to go ahead and use the marker. So I'm going to take a little rag and wipe these off, the little spokes here on the wheels, the frame of the wagon. So I'm going to clean that off. Because we don't want any of that to be red. We want that. And then I have a black marker. And then we'll come through and color those black. And now I think this is going to be a little darker than I used basic gray for my other wagon on my sample there, but we'll go with the black. Just a little, going to be a little bit darker than what I think I want, but it'll be all right. I don't want to go over and get the other stuff, so I'm going to huff on this to get my marker back moistened up. I'll stamp it down like so. And now we have our wagon. And then with that set was a coordinating die called Garden Grown. Had dies in there for all those. And I'm going to go cut out my wagon. All right, you guys forgot to tell me that I didn't put the center of the wheel on that other one. So let's see if I can draw a little circle in the middle. Call it good. And I know what you're thinking, Jill, well, you don't have that die, that stamp, it's too old. Doesn't matter if you have this wagon or not. Find a vessel. We may have a wheelbarrow from another stamp set. If there's a basket, a bucket, any of this will work. So I'm going to put this on the front, but I've got my remnants from where my grass was, and I'm going to cut that out. Just want the strip of it, and it actually doesn't need the whole thing. But I'll cut the whole thing off just so I can position it where I want to position it. This is another one that I ran through on my copy machine to make extras. You guys can see how nicely that came out. You just see the outline of where the die cut lines are. So when you cut, you know where you need to cut as well. So now I've got the grass, and I'm going to go ahead and glue that on. Let's see. I guess we'll just kind of go straight across there. I'm going to put some glue on the back of this grass. And I just gonna stick it down on here. at the bottom. And then we can cut it off to trim it to fit where we need it. We don't need it to go all the way over that far. So just trim it off wherever you want. And then now we can put some dimensional. I'm going to put some adhesive on the bottom of the wheels, and then I'm going to put a dimensional behind the wagon so that it pops up this way a little bit. So I'm just going to adhere the wheels and pop up the wagon. So I'm going to get a slice of my dimensional and pop up the wagon. And then I'm going to cover up my little splooch there and just going to put the wheels on top of the grass so that it looks kind of like it's grounded there. And then I have a bunny that I'm going to put some adhesive under his feet. And we're going to stick him in our wagon. I got to pick up my dimensional just a little bit to get his foot under there. Because we don't want him all the way sticking out. And then we got our frog, and I'm going to put some adhesive again at the base, just the base of the frog. And he rides up in the front. And then I'm going to do the same thing on those two, and I'm going to just put a little smidgen of dimensional under the frog and under the bunny's head, just so they stick up a little bit. Add some extra depth to what's going on there. This. And then I cut out some of the flowers. And again, I'm going to put a little adhesive on the base of them and a little tiny bit of dimensional along the flower part so it doesn't get lost in my wagon. And then I'm just going to stick them down. If you want to get fancy, you can cut that off so it looks like it's the bunny's holding on to it. I'm going to stick them down inside the wagon. And then I have this one with the 3 on it. I'll cut that out. We'll put a little bit of glue on the bottom. I'm not going to put any dimensional on that one. He looks like he's sticking up there high enough. And we'll cut this one out. I'm going to put this taller one in the back side of the wagon. And I will put a little dimensional on him just so that he sticks up there with the bunny, because he's a little bit taller flower. Put that in the back of the wagon. And then I have one more flower. I got the small one here. On my sample, I used the bigger one. And then I just glued that flat down here on the grass like it's falling out of the wagon. So we got that. And then I had 2 clouds that I popped up. Let's see. And that kind of covers up some of that area that I didn't get the plaid looking part in either too. So I got 2 clouds. Just going to put them down like this, and then it gets glued on to the front of our card right here. So we'll go ahead and glue that on. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I have a 3/4 inch, I just got something on it, Daffodil Delight, and a 1/2 inch basic white, and then this is 2 1/4, and this one is 2 inches, and I stamped on there, wishing you sunshine and smiles. And after I picked this one, I thought it was, I don't know, I should have maybe went with a different saying, because it, you know, we got the clouds up there. So I'm wishing you sunshine and smiles, but we got the clouds up and not the sun. But I didn't want to use the sun on all the cards. So you could replace the clouds with the sun if you want to make the sentiment kind of jive a little better with the card. But I like it. And we're going to glue that on there. Now, if you want to leave a little smaller border, go ahead and place 2 corners where you want them, and then trim the rest down. Let's see if I can push that out. Trim the rest down to the size that you need it. Then we'll go ahead and put some dimensionals on the back of this one. What did I do with them? Oh, right here in front of me. Put one here and one here. And then you can strategically place this if you don't like this area that maybe you don't like as well. You don't like it. You've just got a spot on there that you might want to cover up. Feel free to cover it up. I'm going to just stick mine right here, kind of in the center to go with my space I got there. And then go ahead and put a piece on the inside that is 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I did not stamp anything on this. You could stamp a happy birthday, a get well, a whatever you want. Just leave it blank and write on it for whatever occasion you're going to use it for when it gets to that point. But there we go. That's our second card.